I hear you.
Okay, and we're recording.
We're ready to go.
Okay. All right. We have to return to public session. So can I get a motion to return to public session?
So moved, Carol.
Second, Carolyn.
And can I get a roll call, please?
Dr. Cerciello.
Yes.
Mr. Emmons.
Yes.
Mrs. Fiore.
Here.
Mrs. Bogorski.
Yes.
Mr. Wallace.
Yes.
Mr. Zwerlin.
Yes.
Mrs. Sample.
Yes.
Mrs. Simon.
Yes. Okay. Moving on to the nomination and appointment of a board member for our vacant position. Can I get a motion, please?
So moved, Tom.
Second, Camille.
But we didn't name someone yet.
And then I need a nomination.
No.
At least that was the order on the agenda.
All right. Sorry.
Yeah, you're good.
This is Carol. I would like to nominate Julie Flores for the position.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second, Carolyn.
Okay. Are there any other nominations? Not hearing any. Can I get a roll call, please?
Dr. Cerciello.
Yes.
Mr. Emmons.
Yes.
Mrs. Fiore.
Yes.
Mrs. Bogorski.
Yes.
Mr. Wallace.
Yes.
Mr. Zwerlin.
Yes.
Mrs. Sample.
Yes.
Or Simon.
Yes.
Passes.
Welcome, Julie. Are you still here?
Yes, thank you.
So I'd like to thank everyone who came forward for the interviews. And we wish you well. Thank you. We have to do an oath of office now. Are you ready?
Yes.
If you could please stand and raise your hand. And you're just going to repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Julia Flores,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution
of the United States
of the United States
and the Constitution
and the Constitution
of the State of New Jersey,
of the State of New Jersey,
and that I will bear true faith
and that I will bear true faith
and allegiance
and allegiance
to the same
to the same
and to the governments
and to the governments
established
established
in the United States and this state
in the United States and this state
under the authority of the people.
under the authority of the people.
I state your name.
I, Julia Flores,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I possess the qualifications
that I possess the qualifications
prescribed by law
prescribed by law
for the office
for the office
of member of Board of Education,
of member of Board of Education,
have never been convicted
have never been convicted
of a crime or offense
of a crime or offense
listed in New Jersey statute
listed in New Jersey statute
18A
18A
12-1
12-1
and have not been disqualified
and have not been disqualified
as a voter
as a voter
pursuant to statute,
pursuant to statute,
and that I will faithfully,
and I will faithfully,
impartially,
impartially,
and justly
and justly
perform all duties of that office
perform all duties of that office
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my abilities.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank
Welcome
you.
aboard.
Thanks.
Ms. Flores, just so you know, you can vote this evening, so just, we will have we'll be going through the rest of the agenda. I will be calling your name. Your choice is you can vote yes, no, or abstain. Obviously, you don't have privy to certain confidential information, but it's your choice if you want to vote yes, no, or abstain.
Okay.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
So we will move on to the superintendent's report.
Great. Thank you, Mrs. Simon. Welcome, Ms. Flores. We really appreciate having you here on the board. And this is your first board meeting, and it's a great one for you to attend because we have a special treat for everyone tonight. We have our Three Bridges School highlight. As the board members know, and the public knows, one of our strategic goals this year revolves around inquiry or inquisitive learning. And the third graders at Three Bridges have been developing their own inquiry projects, which they've been calling their passion projects. And in this very unusual school year, where we've had a lot of COVID challenges, Mrs. Higgins, the third grade teachers, and the students have really done a nice job in exploring some of their passions with different avenues like virtual field trips and other partnerships. So I'll introduce Mrs. Higgins to talk about the passion projects over at Three Bridges School.
Thank you, and thank you for inviting us here this evening. I'm here with two of my wonderful, terrific Tigers. We have Noelle Palumbo and David Wiegand. They're going to introduce themselves in a second. They're going to share their projects, and I am going to share the screen so we can. So hello, I'm Mrs. Higgins. I am the principal of Three Bridges School. David?
Hello, my name is David Wiegand, and I am a third grader in Mrs. Lewis's class.
Hello, my name is Noel Colombo, and I am a third grader in Miss Navazi's and Miss Samuel's class. I will be sharing about both of my passion projects.
Noelle had a unique opportunity to complete a passion project with Mrs. Navazi in a G&T class about animal shelters, and she also researched geodes with Miss Samuel's class. This school year, the third grade teachers and students began the process of addressing the goals in the district's strategic plan. We are going to share how we work together to address two areas in the plan. Students and teachers work to create an inquiry-based and interest-driven project, also known as passion projects. This is their first steps into using their interest to ask questions to drive their learning process and link their knowledge to their lives. We also work to grow our partnerships with those outside of the school walls. We saw connections with people in our community, our state, and our country by linking the students in their topics with experts in the field. These experts provided a view into the topics that went well beyond the facts that children read in books. The inquisitive learning process starts with asking questions about a topic. A New York Times article shared about the importance of asking good questions of thinking, learning, and creating. In the article, Dr. Robbie said, "My mother made me a scientist without ever intending it. So every mother in Brooklyn would ask her child after school, 'So, did you learn anything today?' But not my mother. She always asked me a different question. 'Izzy,' she would say, 'did you ask a good question today?' That difference, asking good questions, made me become a scientist." And what does inquiry learning look like? eLearningIndustry.com shared an article that offered a clear and concise view of what our inquisitive learners should be doing. The article describes the process of inquiry learning with the goal being to make our ideas and knowledge better. So it's important to remember that inquiry-based learning is not a technique or practice per se, but a process that has the potential to increase the intellectual engagement and deep understanding of learners, urging them to develop their questioning, research, and communication skills, collaborate outside the classroom, solve problems, create solutions, and tackle real-life questions and issues, and participate in the creation and amelioration of ideas and knowledge.
TBS is lucky to have a passion project expert. Miss Nagel visited my class to share her project. She was interested in learning how her teaching of SEL made a positive impact on the students in her classroom. She created a timeline and planned out her work. Her sharing made me understand that I needed to pick a topic that interested me and could help me in the future.
I learned from Miss Nagel that we have initial questions. Then we think about our topic more and our questions grow and we can narrow our focus. Topics can be big, but our questions target our thinking.
The first thing I did to target my thinking was brainstorm topics I want to do, learn, or wonder about, like how to make up a video game, work with someone who knows a lot about technology, and improve in video games.
To create final questions, we sometimes need other questions to help us. Some questions include, what will I learn? What will I create? What will I solve? What do I love? What are my interests? How can I make an impact?
The third grade students came up with many interesting topics, such as interior design, rockets, space, and emeralds.
We provided the time and instructions for students to delve into their passions and interests by integrating the current literacy curriculum. The students researched, wrote, reported, and shared their information that was completed throughout the nonfiction units in the reading and writing workshop. This slide shares the essential questions from the nonfiction units the teachers used to guide the children to complete their inquiry projects. Essential questions don't just guide the teachers in the work with the students, but they guide each child in his or her work as it relates to his or her topic of interest. The purpose of a passion project is not just to summarize all that you can on your topic. Instead, you need to build on your understanding of the topic. To become an expert, you will research and answer an essential question. And an essential question asks that you move beyond studying something to move into action, to make change, to form an opinion, or make and create something. An essential question cannot be answered by simple facts or a yes or no answer.
I enjoy playing video games. Once I'm an expert, I formed my essential question based on the information he shared with me. I was surprised how many different people with different jobs were on one game and how long they took to make.
My essential question was, what do shelters most likely need to function and how can I help? As I read the website and did my research, I began asking questions. I also had the benefit of talking to my family about the needs of homeless animals. I was lucky to have built-in experts.
We were able to connect an expert for every child in their field of interest. Some were located through our staff members' contacts. Others were found through organizations who have experts working for them. For example, Jenkinson's Aquarium has a large educational outreach program. They have their scientists meet with our students about marine mammals, sharks, shipwrecks, and ocean pollution. We also had contacted the Raptor Trust. Our classes often go to the Raptor Trust for class trips. This year, their educator spoke with a child about bald eagles. We also made a wonderful connection to Paula Adhikari, the daughter of Gargi Adhikari, teacher at HBS. Ms. Adhikari is in Seattle, Washington, and works as an aerospace engineer. Ms. Adhikari tests, builds, and launches reusable suborbital rocket systems designed and to take astronauts and research payloads past the Kármán line, the internationally recognized boundary of space. In case you don't know what the Kármán line is that anything above the Kármán line is outer space. We also had a civil engineering professor at TCJ happily share his lab with the students and answer their questions. Also, a school favorite, Dr. Christensen, a local vet and former TBS dad, happily met with our third graders about veterinary medicine and animal care. And in this picture, you can see Mr. Ritter, who is also a former TBS parent, was talking to some students about robotics as Mrs. Hegarty supervised. When we had the experts meet with our children, we did make sure that we had a staff member present that supervised and helped to facilitate the discussion. This is just a short list of our experts, but we have many more experts who so happily shared their areas of expertise with our students. It really made a nice impact on the projects.
I started my research and then I met with my expert. I was able to take the interview information and add onto my writing. This is one example. The red shows the information I added from my discussion with the expert. I spoke with Wade Weinberger. He's the son of our school's speech teacher, Mrs. Weinberger, and he does the graphic art for video game design.
For my expert with Miss Samuels about geodes, I spoke with Dr. Parrish from the New Jersey State Museum. He showed me geodes and told me facts. I was able to relate because of all the research I had done. I learned lots of facts, like what a geode means or if a geode needs nutrients. It made my questions grow, and I was able to think of more for my project. It encouraged me to keep writing. I ended up with 24 pages.
I wrote quite a bit about my topic. I would like to share a couple of the sections I found most interesting. I needed to get past the goblin, so I started to attack. He beat back, but I do not give up. I used my super move, and he's eliminated. Woohoo! I won! Do you wonder who makes these games? There are many jobs in making a video game. There are testers who test the game. There's a sound maker who makes the sound. There's a graphic designer who makes the images. Lastly, there's a programmer who programs the game. These are some of the jobs that it takes to make a video game. Are video games bad for you? Many young people like to play video games. When you play video games, you get to have fun, but you should go outside. For years, people play outside. They imagine a lot of things. They imagined they were ninjas, hunters, and fighters. They had as much fun as we have when we play video games. So why don't you go outside for a little bit and have fun? Now that I thought about going outside and playing instead of sitting inside on a video game, my inquiry learning may be taking me to want to learn more about the bad effects of video games.
For Mrs. Nabosny's GNT class, we did passion projects. We learned that passions are something that excites you and inspires you. A passion brings you joy. It drives you, challenges you, and motivates you. You do it as often as you can, and you would spend hours on your passion every day if possible. I started my process of defining my passion project by listing 3 questions. Some questions I came up with to find the final question I was going to have for my passion project are: how can I help by volunteering at a shelter, and what can I do that will help the most? How can I get more people to volunteer at shelters? What do shelters most likely need to function? I finally defined my essential question as, what do shelters most likely need to function and how can I help? I started by listing what I know. I then realized the hardest part of my project would be actually having people donate. I asked, how am I going to get people to donate? I started thinking of ideas. Signs, colorful colors to catch the eyes, it all started coming to me. Now that I am starting my donation, I put those ideas into one. I have a sign with bright colors, bold font, and puffy background asking for donations. Also, since I am presenting to so many people right now, if you have any donations of blankets, food, toys, treats, and bones, please drop them off at the gray bins at TBS. This is my flyer. Before I made this and decided I was going to make donation boxes, I had to write a letter to the superintendent asking for permission to complete my collection in school. He wrote me back. He gave me permission to put out my boxes, flyers, and collect items. Me, my friends, and I are continuing our passion for animals by writing a children's book about how to be kind to animals. We are writing the text and creating the illustrations. We will publish it using Book Creator. We can share it with the other children at school.
We are not finished yet. Second graders will choose 2 topics that the third graders research to have the third graders present to them. This will give us an opportunity to share our work and will also help the second graders begin to think about their passions and interests. Hopefully, they will begin asking questions. Thank you for inviting us to present about inquiry, learning, and passions.
Thank you, everybody, for inviting us to share about our projects. I would like to add a very special thank you to our teachers. During an already challenging year, the TBS teachers worked together to provide a unique experience for our children. I'd also like to thank our supervisors, Sarah Pouch and Stacy Brown, in assisting us in making sure that we were holding true to what inquiry projects are and making sure that we're able to align it to our curriculum. We appreciate everybody's work. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Mrs. Higgins, for sharing the amazing work of these third grade students. Noelle and David, what a wonderful job in your presentation tonight. Absolutely wonderful. Thank you so much.
I have to add that the children created their slides and wrote what they were going to say. They did the plan and we worked together as a team. I'm very proud of them. They're ready for Hollenbrook.
Wow, wonderful. Noelle, David, very, very impressive with your presentation tonight. I think it shows that you're really interested in your passion projects, that you have the drive to learn more above and beyond what your teachers are teaching you, which is so cool. And Noelle, I was really impressed by the fact that you're looking at trying to publish a children's book about how to care for animals. I mean, this is real great work. I hope you publish your book and I hope you send it to me one day too. So thank you so much for being here today. Great job, Noelle. Great job, David. Thank you. Thank you, Mrs. Higgins. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Mrs. Higgins, and thank you, David and Noelle. I want to thank you for presenting to the Board of Education. It sounds like you had a lot of fun and learned so many new things. And thank you for sharing with all of us.
Thanks.
Thank you so much. You're welcome to stay on with us and watch us as we go through the rest of our meeting. I will move on to our next agenda item on the superintendent's report. Tonight we have our supervisors, Dr. Brown and Ms. Pouch, here with us to review the mid-year math and language arts data that we've collected through our in-house data collection tools, such as our diagnostic through math and our running records and literacy. And to present the board with a little bit of context, we're presenting these for several reasons, and we shared them in Ed Tech. But two recent developments that provide some context for this presentation tonight. One is this is really providing a baseline to help us identify students and needs that we need to tackle in our COVID recovery accelerated learning summer program. Right now, we're looking at designing a virtual summer program for intervention, as well as a fall into next winter program that would be like an after-school tutoring program. As you know, we've talked about this ESSER 2 funding that our school district has received, and we're looking at developing some additional accelerated learning programs using that additional ESSER funding. So this is kind of baseline data for us to tell us how our district is performing using these assessments based off of some national norms. And the second thing in recent news, very recent news, is that our state will not be administering the New Jersey Student Learning Assessment this spring. However, the state is requiring that every school district upload assessments that we've used within the district to determine whether or not students are at, above, or below grade level. So this is a portion of the battery of assessments that we're going to be uploading to the state database in order to satisfy the requirement of collecting student assessments that will fulfill the federal requirement in lieu of actually doing the New Jersey Student Learning Assessment for the school year this year. I've spoken with Mrs. Beagle. We still are doing the dynamic learning maps for special ed students and the access for ELs for our English language learners. And I should add too that in the fall, it will most likely be required that we do a Start Strong fall assessment to assess our students as they re-enter districts starting in September. So that's some context around why we're sharing with you some assessments today, because this is really the driving force for our adherence to the federal guidelines under ESSA, under ESSA, that we do some sort of assessment annually, and this is going to satisfy that requirement. So I'll turn it over to Dr. Brown and Ms. Pouch to review with you the assessment data.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Stacy Brown. I'm the Supervisor of Humanities, and I'm going to walk you through our language arts data for the beginning of the year into the winter. So to give us a little perspective and some background information, this year was very different from the years that we've had in the past. The impact that the pandemic made on the mental and physical health of both the adults and the children in our district can't be overstated, and it's an important piece to consider as we're looking at our achievement data. Some initial student data was completed with testing at home. The follow-up data was completed with the administration in school, and that does create a variety of testing environments. And that's not always ideal. It sometimes brings in score reversals if the second administration is different from the first. So with all of that in mind, and the idea that instruction changed dramatically this year, the teachers and the students had to adapt to a new way of learning. They had to do it fast, and we were always impressed by their flexibility and their willingness to try new things as we made our way through an experience that was new to everyone. So when I analyzed this data, I had to think about it a little bit in a different way than I normally do. Normally, when we look at this, we sit down, we look at where the students are sitting in relation to grade level, where we need to focus our energy, and if they're hitting our district targets. This year was a little bit different in the idea that we're not really looking to hit a district target because the targets are different now because the environment is different now. So we were really looking to see where are our students right now? How can we meet them where they are? And what can we do to help them move forward and grow? And then also looking for trends in our data that are going to show us and help us identify the most successful strategies in our classrooms and grade levels so that we can implement those with more consistency across the district. So with that in mind, I will walk you through running records. We complete running records for K through 6. We don't do them in 7th and 8th consistently because once they hit those grade levels, they're starting to phase out of the highest levels of this assessment. So we only give them to students who are working below grade level. So starting out with kindergarten, we didn't have any past information because our kindergartners are new to our district. So I compared our current kindergarten at their first interval, the first time that they've taken a running record ever in their whole life, which happens in December, to this first chart here, this first graph here, that is last year's kindergarten class. So as you can see, the meeting and exceeding is different, but the overall breakdown is really not that different. And that's a credit to our fantastic kindergarten teachers and the flexibility of our students. They really rose to the expectations of remote and hybrid learning, and they were able to hold on to a very similar score from winter to winter. Now, our first grade is very special. First grade is the most amazing grade to teach. It is the most amazing grade to be a parent of a student in from a literacy perspective, because first grade is really where reading starts to happen, where it all comes together. Never in their careers in school will they read more and go through more reading levels than they do in first grade. Now, that being said, there's a lot of foundational skills that are important here, and they have to move through a lot of levels. So don't let the red upset you. The reason there's no red here on the left when the kindergarten scores, these are our kindergartners. This is our current first grade. The first is our kindergarten of this group last year pre-pandemic, then following them into September to the beginning of the year, and then into the winter of their first interval. And the reason you're seeing red at this beginning of the year when it wasn't there before was because these students as kindergartners, there is no red for them at that point in the year. They've only learned how to read 2 to 3 levels, so there isn't a 4th level to having need support section. That's why it's starting to appear. Nothing's wrong. It happens just because we don't have those end of year scores for the students. So they had some disruption to their foundational skills in kindergarten, which the first grade teachers are now backfilling and helping them move forward with. And this grade level, it's important that we work on the phonemic awareness, phonics skills, and sight words in order to help them move forward. This growth where everything comes together and the students really start to read and just take off happens usually in December, January. We have an explosion of reading. Now that explosion is pretty much a little bit of a pop. I think that it's probably just delayed as the first grade teachers begin to fill in those foundational skills, and moving forward, we should see more growth from them once that foundation is more solidified. Does anybody have any questions yet? Okay, so second grade, this first chart here is our current second grade when they were in first grade pre-pandemic, then coming in back in September. And then the last one is this group of students in the winter. And as you can see here, there's some foundational skills we're going to work on coming out of first grade, because again, they were disrupted by the change to remote learning and the pandemic. But what's really nice to look at here is how the second grade teachers are picking away at those students who are at the needs, at the approaching and need support areas, and moving them up into approaching, meeting, and exceeding. They've shown some really nice incremental growth here, and they're doing a really nice job filling in those foundational skills and helping the students move forward. Now in second grade, we're very fortunate. We have a secondary data point that we can compare this to. We also give iReady reading diagnostic in second grade. And this is our second grade diagnostic information. This first bar graph here is the fall administration, followed by the winter administration. And as you can see here, they've shown amazing progress from their fall scores to their winter scores, and having some really nice growth. The red, which is any students 2 grade levels below, is so small that the number couldn't even fit there. So we're very proud of and pleased of how these students are growing. Now the scores on the iReady diagnostic will be different than the scores on a running record, because the diagnostic is more skills-based. The running record is application. That's why we give both assessments. They test different things. Now comparing our second graders to national norms, the bar graph on the left is historical national norms. The middle is the nation to date. So these are scores that are taken during the pandemic right now. And then on the far right is our district. And as you can see, we're far outperforming both historical national norms and the nation to date. Does anybody have any questions about second grade? So moving into third grade, on the left is our third graders, second graders before they left, before the pandemic, then coming in September, and then their first interval in the winter. And now you're going to start to see some trends as we move across multiple grade levels in our data. And one of the trends that we found is that the students really held on to their learning over the remote learning timeframe and then over the summer. So we generally could lose between 5 and 10% on a summer slide. And what we're seeing here is that students were losing the same amount of learning between when they left the pandemic and when they came back in September as we would in an ordinary summer slide in an ordinary year. And that's a very good place to sit. It means they came back in September for the most part with really good foundational skills, ready to move forward with grade level work. Fourth grade is also continuing to show some trends that we're seeing in most grade levels across the district. So on the left, we have our current fourth grade as third graders pre-pandemic. In the middle is where they were in September. On the right is their first interval in the winter. And what we're starting to see here is that we lost some of our exceeding expectation students that we had pre-pandemic. Those students had slipped backwards into the meeting expectations range, which is still good. That's still grade level. It's a good place to be, especially with all the new things that came about and the world around us at that time. But now that we're back in school and we are having more in-person instruction, we are starting to see that grade levels are building back that exceeding expectations. So you can see how where it was pre-pandemic, where they came back, and then how the teachers are starting to build that back to almost where it was before. Then fifth grade, we're seeing some of those same trends with the building back of the exceeding expectation and holding on to learning over the summer months and through the remote learning that occurred in the spring. So on the left is these students as fourth graders, in the middle is them in September, and then on the far right is their latest running record taken in the winter. This is our current sixth grade. On the left is them as fifth graders, where they left pre-pandemic. In the middle is September, their running record first thing back in the beginning of the year, and then their winter running record here on the right-hand side. And another trend that we're starting to see as well is that across most grade levels, we're not running exactly on the targets that we normally are at this time of year. We're running about 10% behind. And considering the fact that more than 10% of instruction and programming has changed over this past year, running 10% behind is a really good place to sit. It gives us a chance to take a look at where these kids are, meet them where they are, and then use our programs and our supports to help move them forward. We have some really wonderful intervention teachers that the students are currently working with. So although we're looking to do future things, we also have implemented some ideas now in order to assist the students who need extra help and some assistance with their foundational skills. And Sarah will tell you more about those plans and what we have in place now at the end. So I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Pouch for math information.
Stacy, this is Eric Zwirling. I have just one quick question.
Sure.
Yeah, you presented a slide that showed us in comparison to some national standards. And I was wondering, no, well, actually, I just wanted to ask, do you have either the comparison to New Jersey schools or better yet, to the district factor groups? And for some of the newer board members, the DFGs are demographically similar districts within the state of New Jersey.
We don't have any DFG data. The state doesn't always provide that for us. They haven't the past couple of years. We do have some iReady data. And the hesitation that Sarah and I both had with this is it's not as solid as we would like it to be. There's a lot of different variables. There's a really small sample size. They only gave us New Jersey scores that were of students who were taking the test remotely, which is comparable somewhat to math in the beginning, but that all of our students didn't take it remotely. And iReady seemed hesitant to really move forward with any kind of solid idea that this data was really reliable. We have that, which is putting us a good 30 to 40%. We are 29% above this exceeding expectations and 16% above the meeting expectations compared to New Jersey scores. I don't have anything for surrounding districts. I do have some friends who are teachers and administrators, and I've asked just, what are your feelings? How do you think this year is going? How far behind or how on target do you think you are? And what I'm getting from them is that they're potentially 30, 40, sometimes 50% behind where they normally would be, which is not the case here. But again, that is totally anecdotal data. It's not the solid data that we have, like the norm referenced iReady information that can give us the nation to date and the historical national data.
So is it that, do you anticipate getting more complete data? Is it that you feel that the data that you're getting is incomplete, not statistically robust, or unreliable, or is it that it doesn't show us in a favorable light? So your reticence is that you don't feel it's reliable data?
It's not reliable data. iReady is basically telling us that it's not reliable data. It shows us in an excellent light. I wish it was reliable data because we look fantastic.
Okay.
But iReady isn't really standing behind it. They aren't producing that for us when we have our data meetings with them after our diagnostic intervals. They give us the national norms. They give us the nation to date. They gave us all of that with complete confidence. They slipped this New Jersey data into a training that Sarah went to, and it wasn't, and they had caveats on the side. So I'll read some of them is score inflation still makes early elementary trends difficult to interpret. Our sample is too small to draw conclusions and isn't representative of the state. And then when we asked them about it, because Sarah did ask them after our ed tech meeting if we were going to get New Jersey data, and they told us no, and then this appeared in a future training. So they don't seem to be ready to statistically stand behind it. So I would hesitate to put it in a presentation, although I certainly could verbally share it with you as I did, and we look fantastic. We're far, reading-wise, far outstripping what they're showing the New Jersey data to do, which aligns with what I'm seeing in the classrooms. The teachers have been fabulous. The students are extraordinarily well-behaved and engaged. The teachers are trying new things. I know that they must be tired after all the new things that they've had to learn and all the pivots that we've all had to make, and they're still there every day trying to do the best that they can for their kids, and they're doing a fantastic job. So I'm not surprised that we look fantastic compared to what the state is doing right now.
Thank you for that careful and thorough explanation.
Any other questions?
Yeah, real quick, I have a quick question. First of all, I agree that the staff is doing, fantastic with what we've all had to go through, the kids had to go through. But the slides that you showed, 4th to 5th, then 5th to 6th, those students from when everything went haywire last March, then coming back in September, and then the winter time. It looked to me like there are more kids in wintertime that were needing help than when they came back in September, if I saw that correctly. Is there a way to identify, or could those kids be kids who aren't coming to school? There could be full virtual kids and they're falling a little further behind. I'm just trying to get an idea on that.
That's an excellent question, and there's a bunch of different variables that could have taken place that could account for that. One, the first interval of testing was done at home, and the second interval was done in school for the majority of students. So now we have a different testing environment, and that potentially could have produced some difference in results. And then secondly, you made an excellent point. We have a population of students that was fully virtual, or it continues to be fully virtual. And those students, anecdotally talking to the teachers, the students that aren't coming into school, interacting with the teacher every day and getting that same in-person experience, not all of them are doing as well. Some students are built for online learning. I am built for online learning. I love it. Not every person is built that way. And the younger the students are, the more difficult it is. And then you have other variables in place. If you have any ELL students that don't have an English speaking adult at home that can help them during the time that they're learning at home, if they don't have somebody to help them, any student, to remind them to get on for office hours, those are all factors that could impact us. And there's no way for us to really narrow down exactly which one it is. So we basically listed everything that it could have possibly impacted our scores, and then one at a time, we're going after each of those things, trying to remediate them.
Great, thank you for the response. Again, great job to teachers who are paying attention right now, or on right now. Thanks.
Anything else? All right, then I will hand this over to Ms. Powell.
Good evening, everyone. I'm going to be going through the math results for the winter iReady assessment. iReady is an adaptive digital assessment that measures grade level performance and then provides teachers with instructional support to help with differentiated instruction. Our first chart here shows our the results of as a district as a whole from kindergarten to 8th grade. And we had an increase of 11% of students performing on grade level. And the next couple of slides, we'll take a look at breaking down individual grade levels so that we can see that all grade levels have shown improvement from fall to winter. The percent of on grade level in the green is going up, and the percent of students below grade level is going down. Here we have our fall and winter results for 1st through 8th grade. Kindergarten did not take the fall diagnostic. We decided to just start them on regular kindergarten standards and have them move forward rather than try to have our youngest students navigate an online assessment at home. And one of the things that is very different, as Dr. Brown had mentioned, is the administration from fall to winter. The fall administration of the assessment was largely at home, and the winter assessment was largely in school. So very different setting for the assessment. The only grade level that does not hold true for is 1st grade. They were our first students, kindergarten and 1st graders were our first students back for hybrid instruction rather than fully remote. So the 1st grade scores are 100% spot on. The fall assessment was given in school as well as the winter assessment. And we can see that the 1st graders have made great strides in their on grade level skills, and they've shown the most improvement. And I think that's partly because they had the most consistency in the administration of the assessment. In 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, the assessments both in the fall was fully remote, whereas in the winter, it was a mix of in-person and remote. Some of the classes began the assessment in class and then had to finish in the afternoon remotely, but all of the testing sessions were proctored. Next, we have information showing, again, the historical national norms, scores that could be, to be expected under normal circumstances, the current national norms for this current winter, and then the 3rd bar all the way on the right is our district performance. And again, this is our district as a whole, looking at K through 8. In just a moment, we'll take a look at each grade level and how we compare it to the historical and current national norms. And again, our district is far outperforming not only the current national norms, but the historic national norms. As Dr. Brown had explained, we've been getting little bits of information about what the rest of New Jersey looks like. But one of the reasons we looked at it is that they were only showing, the iReady people were trying to show the difference between students who took the assessment in school versus the students who took it out of school. So they only gave us the the information, some information on the students who took the assessment at home. And they also provided the student count. So when we're saying that the information doesn't really line up, normally they're looking at roughly between 13 and 15,000 New Jersey students taking this assessment, and they're only reporting on 4,000 or 5,000. So they're showing us just a tiny population. So it, as Dr. Brown said, we look wonderful compared to that small number of students who took the assessment at home, which tends to give inflated scores. So these are the really good, impressive scores for the rest of the state, and we're outperforming that. But since it's such a small sample size, we didn't have enough confidence in it. The iReady company has been very responsive to everything we've been asking for, looking for changes to be made. And we can't be the only district asking for this information. So I'm hopeful that they'll start to, synthesize some of that information. They are a national company, so they'd have to do it for all 50 states, but hopefully they're going to be able to provide us with some more detailed information. Taking a look at the next slide, here we have grades K through 5. So this is our first chance to see our kindergarten scores. Again, the far left are the historic national norms. The current national norms are in the middle, and then our district is the far right. And you can see that we had a very large percent of our kindergartners for the winter assessment on grade level, and no red, which is, we always love to see that. So that looks great. Again, you can see even by grade level that when looking at each of the bars to the far right, we are far outperforming the national norm to date, as well as outperforming or matching the performance of the historical national norms. This is our second year of implementation for iReady for the 1st through 5th graders. So this was something they've been familiar with. And as math is trending very closely to the same as ELA, where we're compared to our winter scores last year, we're about anywhere between 13 or 14 to 10% less on grade level than we were at this point last year. Taking a look at the next slide, we have the historical national, the historical to date and district placements for 6th, 7th, and 8th. This was the first year of our implementation for iReady in 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. So our 6th graders were familiar with the program. However, the 7th and 8th graders, this was something brand new for them. We're seeing the same trends of outperforming both the historic and the national norms. And from here, what the teachers have been able to do is look at, once they have this assessment, they're provided with a wealth of information to help them understand every student, whether they're on, below, or above grade level, as to what concepts they're ready to learn, whether it's a prerequisite skill, it's something that they should have had prior, and they need some more reinforcement on that, or if they're already secure on the grade level standards, it provides them with information about what to work on with the students next. Any questions about the results by grade level or at a district level? Okay, so I briefly mentioned, that iReady provides detailed instruction for the teachers so that they can provide differentiated instruction for the students, meeting them where they're at and providing them with what they need to move forward. But we're also taking a look at all of this information and using it to help guide in our decision making for what we can be doing for the students who are not on grade level and for the students who are on or above, and how we can meet their needs. So some of this information has guided our decision making in looking at our pacing guides and making sure that we're addressing unfinished learning. having training provided for teachers on using this data and using training for data analysis and how to best approach small group instruction. We've had opportunities early in the school year as well as follow up in the winter about what hybrid instruction can look like and how we might use a workshop model in that area. We have our coaches working tirelessly, both with individual teachers as well as grade levels as a whole. As Dr. Brown mentioned, we're able to use iReady for personalized instruction in second grade, and the intervention teachers are taking full advantage of that program. We've implemented a new intervention schedule this year so that we can accommodate more students, and including kindergarten, pushing in whenever schedules permit. And also students at the middle school have been using the iReady online instruction because the program provides teachers with information about what they can be working on with the students, but the iReady program also generates a digital tutorial for students to follow so that they can continue with interactive tutorials on their own during academic support time. And we've started to do an additional live instruction time with the math teachers at the middle school as well in the afternoons. And as Dr. Hart mentioned as we began, that we're using this information to start guiding our summer and after school learning acceleration programs that are now in the planning phase for this summer, as well as continuing into next school year. Any questions? Thank you.
Give me 1 second. Excuse me. Thank you so much, Sarah and Stacy. We really appreciate your presentation. Mrs. Simon, that concludes my superintendent's report, unless there are any other questions from the board.
Are there any other questions from the board? No? Okay. Well, thank you both for presenting this evening. A lot went into it. So thank you. And I'm glad to see that we're putting programs in place to help the students, you know, bridge that gap that they've lost through the pandemic. I know it's been very difficult, and thank you for all the teachers too, all the extra hours that they've been putting in. It's quite a task, and they've done a fabulous job. So thank you. All righty. We are now open to the public. This will be limited to action items on the agenda. Do we have any questions that are posed? Let's see. We had a comment from Valerie Pitts. Great job, Noelle and David. Great presentation. Big round of applause. That's nice. All right, if there are any questions as we go through the meeting, there'll be another section for open to the public, and that will be anything on or off the agenda. So feel free to add your question or comment into the chat, and we will address it then. Moving on, correspondence. We have two correspondence since our last meeting, one regarding the corrective action plan and the other one regarding canopies. Moving on to administrative reports. Can I get a motion to adopt 1.01, please?
So moved, Tom.
Second, Carol.
Carol, thank you. Are there any questions on those items? Not hearing any. Can I get a roll call, please?
Dr. Susiello,
Yes.
Mr. Emmons,
Yes.
Mrs. Fiore,
Yes.
Mrs. Pogorski,
Yes.
Mrs. Flores,
Abstain.
Mr. Wallace,
Yes.
Mr. Zwirling,
Yes.
Mrs. Hample,
Yes.
Mrs. Simon.
Yes.
Passes.
Moving on to minutes. Can I get a motion to adopt 2.01 to 2.02, please?
So moved, Carol.
I heard Carol and then
Second, Carolyn.
Carolyn. Thank you. Are there any changes needed to the minutes? No corrections? Excellent. Okay, can I get a roll call, please?
Dr. Cerciello,
Yes.
Mr. Emmons,
Yes.
Mrs. Fiore,
Yes.
Mrs. Zaborski,
Yes.
Mrs. Flores,
Abstain.
Mr. Wallace,
Yes.
Mr. Zwirling,
Yes.
Mrs. Hample,
Yes.
Mrs. Simon.
Yes.
Passes.
Finance and facilities, can I get a motion to adopt 3.01 to 3.03, please?
So moved, Tom.
Second, Carolyn.
All right, do we have a committee report? I didn't see anything. Okay, so
No. We have a
Are
meeting
there-
next week, and then so there'll be your committee report at the next.
sorry. Okay, are there any questions on the agenda items? Not hearing any. Can I get a roll call, please?
Dr. Cerciello,
Yes.
Mr. Emmons,
Yes.
Mrs. Fiore,
Yes.
Mrs. Zaborski,
Yes.
Mrs. Flores,
Abstain.
Mr. Wallace,
Yes.
Mr. Zwirling,
Yes.
Mrs. Hample,
Yes.
Mrs. Simon.
Yes.
Passes.
Education technology, can I get a motion to adopt 4.01 to 4.03, please?
So moved, Tom.
Second, Carolyn.
Thank you. No report, correct? Nope, okay. Are there any questions on the agenda items? Not hearing any. Can I get a roll call, please?
Dr. Cerciello,
Yes.
Mr. Emmons,
Yes.
Mrs. Fiore,
Yes.
Mrs. Zaborski,
Yes.
Mrs. Flores,
Abstain.
Mr. Wallace,
Yes.
Mr. Zwirling,
Yes.
Mrs. Hample,
Yes.
Mrs. Simon.
Yes.
Passes.
Personnel, can I get a motion to adopt 5.01 to 5.06, please?
So moved, Carol.
Second, Carolyn.
Thank you. Are there any questions on the agenda items?
Just
Not
to thank
here.
Mrs. Fitzgerald for her service.
All righty. Any other questions or comments? Can I get a roll call, please?
Dr. Cerciello,
Yes.
Mr. Emmons,
Yes.
Mrs. Fiore,
Yes.
Mrs. Zaborski,
Yes.
Mrs. Flores,
Abstain.
Mr. Wallace,
Yes.
Mr. Zwirling,
Yes.
Mrs. Hample,
Yes.
Mrs. Simon.
Yes.
Passes.
Communications, can I get a motion to adopt 6.01, please?
So moved, Tom.
Second, Carol.
Thank you. Are there any questions or changes needed for the motion? Not hearing any. Can I get a roll call, please?
Dr. Cerciello,
Yes.
Mr. Emmons,
Yes.
Mrs. Fiore,
Yes.
Mrs. Pogorski,
Yes.
Mrs. Flores,
Abstain.
Mr. Wallace,
Yes.
Mr. Zwirling,
Yes.
Mrs. Campbell,
Yes.
Mrs. Simon.
Yes. Unfinished business? Anything that you need to bring up? Okay, new business from the board? No? Okay. We're now open to the public. Anything on or off the agenda? And there's no comments. Okay. We're going to move into executive session now. Can I get a motion to adjourn to executive session in accordance with the Sunshine Law to discuss HIB, personnel matter, employee number 4026, and the RTAA negotiation for approximately 45 minutes, at which time the board expects to return to public session where action shall not be taken. The matters discussed will be made public if and when the circumstances requiring confidentiality no longer exist. However, it is not presently known when such circumstances will exist. Can I get a roll call, please? Oh, sorry, motion. Can I get
So moved, Tom.
Second, Carol.
Carol? Can I get a roll call, please?
Dr. Fiala,
Yes.
Mr. Emmons,
Yes.
Mrs. Fiore,
Yes.
Mrs. Pogorski,
Yes.
Mrs. Flores,
Yes.
Mr. Wallace,
Yes.
Mrs. Zwirling,
Yes.
Mrs. Campbell,
Yes.
Mrs. Simon.
Yes. 8:11. All right. Thank you, everyone. Have a great evening.
Excuse me, Mrs. Simon, does Julie have executive session?